Hello and welcome to Elseworlds, a DC fan podcast. We're talking Penguin Episode 3, Bliss. My name is Jordan. With me, as always, is Chris. See how that rhymes? All right, take Chris.
It's blissful. It's absolutely blissful.
Directed by Craig Zobel, written by Noelle of Valdivia, and it premiered October 6, 2024 on Max and HBO. We open this episode up, Chris, with a flashback to the crescendo of the Batman, the greatest Batman movie ever made. And Victor is dropping off some stuff at his family's apartment before he goes and hangs out with his, don't know if it's actually his girlfriend, but somebody he's interested in at this point, Graciela. While they're hanging out on a rooftop is when the explosions happen that destroy the seawall. And we see, unfortunately, the flood hits Victor's house, killing his family. Did we know his family was dead? I don't remember learning that.
We kind of hinted that his place of living was gone. Like that
Okay.
whole place is like gone. But we didn't really talk about his family. This is the most we got on his backstory. Um I would have almost wanted them to put Ave Maria over the explosion. It was just like, because I'm like, it's the Riddler's moment, man. But yeah, it was really good. I thought it was really dramatic because in the movie you see the explosions and you see Batman and the Riddler, and kind of like react to it, and you see the stadium, but you don't see the city at all. Like, you don't see the overwhelming destruction. So to see the water flow into the apartment and the bodies floating out was really something special, because it gave you perspective on how bad the bombs of the Riddler were. Like, it filled in. It's almost like supplemental to the movie, and I liked it.
Yeah, no, this was a very great opening. It takes a moment for me to really realize where we are, right? Like we have at first I feel like when it starts out, you're supposed to just think he's meeting up with Graciela, and then you start realizing they're talking about the election day. We know that is when those bombs went off, right? And you start putting together the pieces that, oh,
It's a flashback.
it's a flashback, and his parents are probably not going to survive this as he leaves them for the last time. Very unfortunate. But it does come back up again in the talk that he has with Oz at the lunch, right? And it plays heavily throughout the episode, I think, on where Victor's head is at.
Yeah.
He is somebody that wanted to be with Graciela, but during this episode, he's kind of presented with a choice, right? The choice is leave with her and escape and risk Oz coming after you, right? Killing you. Or risk is staying in this life of crime. And we talked about this before too last week when he had to bury the bodies and stuff, that he's really into it now. Like, is this a choice that he's going to resent? Is this a choice he's going to be comfortable with making? Will he rise and be that number two that he is now, but for somebody that is now in charge of maybe the crime family when Oz fully takes over? Or is he somebody that's going to be this tragic character that ends up maybe dying before the Batman Part 2? And look, there's some stuff out there saying Colin Farrell saying like the Penguin's not a great guy. He does some stuff in these shows that people will not be fans of. That can be read however you want.
Has.
I know some people, though, some people are reading that as him killing Victor. That's a possibility. He's somebody, I don't know if he'll ever cross that line, but that would be a thing where I think we would kind of sit back and be like, oh, like he crossed that line and killed a fan favorite that we really enjoy this character. And I gotta say, this actor is absolutely killing it. This is Renzi Feliz. He was also in The Runaways, the Marvel show. I knew he looked familiar, and he also voiced a character in Encanto, which is a great Disney movie, very popular movie. So he's had some big hits recently, but this is like his breakout, like live action role, I would say. And he's killing it, and he's holding it
He's doing a great job.
with actors like Kristen Milioti and Colin Farrell.
The range of emotions he showed when he was responsible for being the bad guy, holding the bag and the money and the drugs, and him dropping everything, having the kind of a PTSD meltdown, this just really fight or flight response, and then recovering in the bathroom, talking to Oz, uh, and then Oz is like, "What? You're gonna leave with my?" The range of emotions that he showed in that set of scenes was really off the charts. I thought it was the best acting of the episode, and you're talking about Colin Farrell, Kristen Miliot, like that's pretty freaking ridiculous. I I think he's just getting more and more comfortable in it. When he was in the car, and the policeman says, "Hey, you can't park here," he's, "Oh, you got some money. What's this from?" And he goes, "What money? I don't have any money." And he gives the cop takes it.
He's
That
proud of
was
the moment too, right? Like he's talking with Oz about it, like
yeah.
and that's part of the Gotham of it all, right? These
Yeah.
guys are corrupt. That's what doesn't probably work everywhere.
Look, the lifestyle is rubbing off on him whether he wants it to or not, and he's in it. And I feel like he knows if he leaves, there is a chance that the Penguin or someone comes after him and kills his girlfriend. Like that's a real possibility. So I don't think there's a clean cut here. He knows too much. He's a loose end. And how far can you go? It's if you go to California, are you really safe? Who knows? But
I like when he's practicing his speech in the car too. It's like, I would never snitch, right? Like he's just like
yeah,
so good talking to himself in that moment of like I would never talk, right? Like
but it's relatable. Who
yeah,
hasn't like
yeah.
rehearsed a speech to a boss before? Like,
Right,
you
right.
got to say something you don't really want to say, or a conversation that's like not super comfortable. Like that's very relatable. That's like that. You don't have to be in a life of crime for that situation to happen. But yeah, I this guy is knocking it out of the park. I think he's fantastic, and I think he makes Penguin so much more likable. I think that's his service to the show as a
Yeah.
character. Like Penguin, with like when he's not around, he's a much rougher dude.
No, I agree. I agree. Um, let's talk about Penguin and Sophia as they are now. Sophia's opening up the door to what the drug operation is that she has planned. The new product. It's Oz is the one that calls it Bliss, but it's like red. What would you call this? Like some sort of red liquid that comes out of the pores of these mushrooms
It's like
that gives
red
them this
mushroom
really,
sweat.
yeah, it gives them this big high.
It's like
And
almost diamonds. It's like gel almost.
yeah, and apparently it is really great feeling, and they gave it to the people in Arkham, and we kind of see how this would, react, how people react on this drug from them like dancing. It's like a party drug, is what
Hmm.
Oz calls it, right? And it's her selling point on it is, look, this city has lost a lot. These people need kind of an escape. This is look at how well this thing is going to sell. But in order to get to that point, they have to get the triads involved, right? Because they can't go ahead and get this set up, this distribution, without Luca finding out. So they have to find another partner that would be able to do this. And Oz apparently has had run-ins with the Triads before, so much so that they actually hold him at gunpoint and tell him, like, why'd you come in here? And he's able to weasel his way out of it once again here,
It had
as
a
he's
very
known.
Han Solo like feel to it, you know. It was like, it kind of in Star Wars. Han Solo's like, "Hey, you owe me like, Han, what are you doing?" And it's he. You have these characters that can just talk themselves out of situations so easily. But uh, I love how the Triad guy was like, like in the other language, not yet. Like they're not going to kill him yet. Like wait. So I they definitely want to kill him. Oh, that's for sure.
And we also learn, right, that they want Johnny Vitti to sign off on this, right? So this causes Oz to play a card that he was probably hoping to hold on to a little bit longer, but it is something now that he is able to use to his advantage. And what I'll say is, I do wonder how long he can keep this up with Sofia, because Sofia's starting to notice stuff, right? She's like, "What aren't you telling me about Johnny Vitti and all this kind of stuff?" And what we learn is that she was actually betrayed by Oz those years ago. She actually is not the Hangman. Some
Hmm.
sort of lie that Penguin spread in order to, I guess, get her out of the way so he could move into the role that he was in up until the Batman. And I find that very interesting because there's already this rocky relationship there that we were hinted at in the first episode, and now we kind of know why. And I think it leads us, especially where he leaves her. He jumps in the car with Victor and says, "Leave her," while she's under attack from the Maronis, right? So, how much longer is she going to trust him? And I think sometimes when he's showing off and he's talking his way out of stuff, she's paying attention to that. And I think she's not going to be easily fooled by Oz. Not this time.
Yeah, I think she's been burned before. She knows the deal, and I think she got in business with Penguin knowing that she A had a moment to bring up to him, and B kind of expected that he was in it on another angle. And it's responsible business that way. She's crazy, but she's actually kind of smart. So I kind of wonder how crazy she actually is and how much of her reputation is unfairly attributed to her because of the Hangman killings.
Yeah, I want to get more information on the Hangman stuff, for sure. Like, I definitely want to know more about what is. We know that they targeted women, right? Or at least young women or women. And I want to know who really did it and why her family was so easy to just be like, all right, let's just lock her away, get her sent to Arkham. He said he didn't think that she would be sent to Arkham, right? We don't know if that's a truth to him or if he's lying to her, but he thought maybe like her uncle or whatever, maybe just sweep it under the rug or something, right? Like,
Honestly, judging by the way that he's planning things of this series, I believe him.
yeah, I think so too. It's just he did benefit greatly from that. So, what was the benefit if she was only kind of sent away? Maybe he thought she'd get sent to Italy, right? And it may not be a big thing. So we get the reveal with Johnny Vitti, where that's what he's at the lunch for, right? Is to run into Luca's wife and pretty much set this up so that way they could not attack, but like surprise Johnny Vitti mid act here. So now, like the paparazzi shoots of Luca and Luca's wife and Johnny Vitti are probably not that relevant unless if they're going to out this to Luca. And it seems now the pivot was I have to confront him directly and have him make this call so that way it goes through with the triads. And he, unfortunately for him, is forced into this. It also doesn't help that Johnny Vitti kind of threatened Sofia before, which made Sofia more on board with making this move, right? Like he came to her and was like, you need to go to Italy or else we're going to tell him that's where you went, insinuating we're going to kill you. And that's where we'll kind of make up that you went. So at this point, Johnny Vitti's kind of made a step that she didn't appreciate. So she was a little bit more easy to convince to make this move.
Yeah, uh, I think you're right on that. I think the scene that Penguin had with Johnny Vitti, where Johnny Vitti gets under his skin and kind of pushes back a little bit, very telling of like the first episode where he shoots
Mm.
Alberto. It's like, how bad did he want to shoot Johnny Vitti?
Yeah.
He sticks
Yeah.
the phone down his mouth, and that'll have to do.
Yeah, true. That was pretty gruesome, wasn't it? Just sticking the phone down. So much so it cracked screen from him biting down on it.
Yeah, I can't imagine that was pleasant, but like, who would? This is why he's such a kind of unhinged character. Like, who would even think to do that?
He plays it so well though, because like then Vidi is like, you're gonna what side with this psycho type thing, and he plays the defender, the white knight to Sophia at that point. It's like, oh,
Hmm.
like she's part of the family. She should be in charge type of thing, and
Yeah,
he's playing his role.
for now.
And for now, and like we said, we find out that he actually is the one that kind of ratted her out for the hangman stuff, and that's why she has trouble actually trusting Oz. So they make the deal, though, right? We see the girls that we saw at the episode last week, and of course the what would you call her? Like the madam, right? Isn't that what they're usually called? Like the people that are in charge of the girls, like in charge of the prostitutes. Um,
Yeah, the madam sounds about right. Something,
yeah, I think that's what they used to call them in certain things. So like, she's the one that's been that had the conversation with Penguin last week and is getting her girls to sell and move this product. And during Victor being the bag man and um
that girl is into him. It's kind
yeah,
of interesting. It's
that was the
like,
girl I was talking about last week,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like I thought maybe he was going to be cheating on Graciela with her, but it just kind of played into some different roles in this. But she was into him, I think, until he until he dropped it all and started having his weird vision with the bombs and stuff as he was having flashbacks to that night. And he does end up leaving and he goes to the train station, but he does not get out of the car and does not go see her. I want to ask you, Chris, why do you think that is? Is it something with him, or is it like, I don't want to rope her into this? Like, what is his thought process when he doesn't get out of the car?
to me, she represents guilt to him. She represents guilt. The last interaction he had was with his parents was ditching them for dinner to go hang out with her. Now he's ditching the penguin to go be with her. It feels wrong because it's what he did to his parents, and Oz is the new biggest presence in his life. So that's my theory is he feels so guilty just looking at her. I think she's a trigger for all of those emotions. And I also feel like she's kind of got the vibe of will they, won't they? Before this, I'm guessing she was the one that kept getting away, the one that, kept right there, the girl who could have been. And I think this just solidified it for him.
Yeah, I kind of see it as like he is conflicted with Oz and stuff. Like he sees the good side in Oz, right? Like when they're having that lunch and he's able to tell Oz about his parents and stuff, and Oz even sticks up for him when he has a stutter, right? And the waiter wasn't really doing anything wrong either. He was trying to finish Victor's order, but it can
That's
be
an
seen
awkward. Yeah,
as a slight sometimes, I guess. But he's just trying to help him out. I think where you're
it's
like,
an awkward position to be in as the waiter. Though the waiter's like, "What do I do?" So I feel bad for the waiter actually.
oh, me too, because Victor's fine with it, right? And then
He was incredibly patient too.
Oz
He was
snaps on him.
he was incredibly patient. He was like, "Sit, sit, sit, sit," and like he let him go, which I think is what you're supposed to do with the stuttering.
Yeah.
And like Penguin is like, "Hey, hey, don't cut him off." I'm like, I kind of, if I'm the waiter, I'm like, I'm putting this guy out of his misery. He wants me to do this.
Right, but I think what Oz looks at is he doesn't need to be taken out of his misery because
But Oz takes
it's
everything as a
not
slight.
yeah, because he's probably had to deal with it for so
Hmm.
long. So he looks at it as no, you make them wait then. Like you deserve the respect, right? And they talk about his father, and we get this great line about how he's a mechanic, but really, that man was a chef, and how like he was always cooking, and how he deserved, being able to have that. And Oz has the whole, American dream speech of like that should be the American dream. He should have,
Hmm.
blah blah blah. Really great stuff back and forth with them. But I think that kind of broke down a little bit of him wanting to leave. Was I feel like this guy actually seems to respect me. He, you know, cares
He
about
told
me.
he told Victor that his dad raised a good kid.
Yes. And
That
then of course he does end
that's
up
that's a
wanting to
lot.
go.
Yeah,
But when he's
let's be
at that
honest. We would have
moment,
wanted to go too.
right, I think at this a certain point though, he realizes it's like if I do leave, it's going to put Graciela in some danger because she will be with me. So it's putting me in danger, but it's also putting her in danger a bit. And, ends up maybe deciding against it. Maybe we learn other reasons why, but that's my read on it. But he does get there in the nick of time as the Maronis are holding Oz and Sofia at gunpoint, and he just runs right into uh, the crowd here and is able to break it up enough for Oz to escape.
That's him fully making his choice. That's him fully making his choice. It's funny though, because if you're driving by that and you almost left and you're seeing this, it could have been you could have done the other thing where you could have waited to see if the problem was solved for you. Because once Oz is
Yeah,
gone,
just
you're
turn
out.
around. Yeah,
You know, he
true,
could have done
true.
that. So it showed some loyalty to him. He really firmly made his choice.
Yeah, no, that's true. Because like you said, they would have taken care of itself. Nobody else knows Victor is really associated with him, especially if Sophia and Oz get capped. Right, those are the only two people
And
that
it
really
puts
know
Oz
him.
in a weird spot because he almost owes this guy something now. Like he owes him his
Yes,
life. And
maybe
that
more than 1K a week. Right? I like that
yeah.
exchange when he says like, "Know what you want to ask for," or whatever. He says, "All right, 2K," and he says, "Nice kid." No, and it just
It's a good interaction. Yeah, I like it a
yeah.
lot. Um yeah. What about her? What about her? Just drive, just drive. I'm like,
This is why Sophia doesn't trust Oz, right?
well, why should she'll never trust him? Like this could blow up the whole thing in his face.
But she is captured by the Maronis right now. So
Hmm.
in his eye, this could be like what you were just saying with Victor, whereas let's let them take her off the board type of thing, right? And
Hmm.
I can kind of resituate. I do wonder how he will get back or team back up with Sophia, if that's even possible because of that, or if he's just like, it all depends on if she heard the just drive,
Yeah.
leave her, right?
But you
And
know
if
how
he's
it's gonna
able to
happen if
spin
she
that,
did.
oh
You know
yeah,
how
yeah,
she's gonna sneak up quietly behind him and go, "Did you think I didn't hear you, Oz?
Yeah, she'll really become the Hangman at that point.
Did you think you were gonna get away with that, Oz?"
So, what do we think happens here? Does Sofia last a good bit still in this show? Or like what were the Maronis coming to get Oz about? Like what do you think their issue was with them? Because last time we had found out, right, everything was still pretty on the up and up with them, right? Or is it because maybe they found out their guy was killed at the funeral
Yeah, they're
instead of
ticked.
brought in? Is that what we think happened?
Well, the plan changed and the
Yeah.
Maronis didn't sign off. It's not like he had time to say, "Hey guys, the plan has changed. Can I just kill this guy?"
Right. So you think that's why they came for him?
Yeah. I also think he was kind of out of the open at that point. Like, it was the time if they were following him, that was the time to get him.
Yeah, let's see. Uh, yeah, they I guess they think it says on Wikipedia breakdown here. They prepare to execute Oz after discovering his duplicity. But they already knew he was playing both. I guess they thought he was just fully on the Maroni side at that point, but I don't think he's really done anything
He's
to.
never suggested to the Maronis he wasn't a double agent.
Right. So that's what I'm
He never
wondering.
did,
It
to
has to
his
be
credit.
related. It has to be related to the funeral from last episode.
Right.
It has to be because, like, I don't know what
Yeah.
else would be setting them off.
Well, it doesn't make any sense for him not to be a double agent because that's his whole purpose of being there.
Right, right. So I think maybe Wikipedia, whoever wrote that blurb, the fan who wrote that
Mhm.
blurb, just thought that's the reason. I don't even remember what she says when she gets out of the van.
I don't either.
So who knows? Uh, but yeah, so we're left with Victor and Oz going away together right now. We don't know where they're going. We have Sofia in the hands of the Maronis. We'll see what she tells them, maybe. Because this can all fall apart on Oz pretty quickly. Because the Maronis do know that Oz killed Alberto, and that Sal is just taking the rap during this war, gang war. But since they've already turned on Oz here, they could sell to Sofia that Oz killed Alberto, and that would get Sofia fully on board with them. Maybe stop a ceasefire in the war. You know, like I wonder what the end game is here for the Maronis. Like, are they going to still claim that they killed Alberto as they take out Sofia, or do they see reason to keep her and let her know the truth?
See, this is why TV shows are great because it gives us these pause moments, these
Yes,
cliffhangers,
especially when
like
they're not all
that
released
movies
at
don't. Yeah,
once.
yeah. Like we actually have some. I feel like we're not getting enough conversation about the show, but I'm really excited about where they go next, and I think what they're going to do is they're really going to hinge Sophia against Penguin, and they're going to weigh her her anger towards Penguin against the anger of towards her family, and she's going to have to choose one of those avenues, uh, whether she forgives Penguin or not.
Yeah, curious. Really curious on how this is going to play out from here.
Sophia's a wild card too because we still don't know if she's completely crazy or if it's a little unfair. Like that's and she plays crazy very well.
Yeah, yeah. It also says here that it leaves uncertain if she's really the hangman or not. I'm pretty sure she said she wasn't, but maybe she could be, still could be, and maybe is
Yeah.
crazy, like you said. Or,
It's completely open ended.
yeah, it is kind of open ended. I took her at her face value there, especially with how Oz reacted, but maybe Maybe he doesn't actually even know who
Well,
the
the
Hangman is. The Hangman
Oz,
killing stopped once she was locked
yeah,
away, but also if somebody took the fall for me, I would probably
yeah,
stop too, right? Like
yeah. And if Oz is talking to Sophia, he's bullshitting one way or the other.
typically.
Yeah.
And we learned that he was her driver. He never mentioned her last week. He mentioned a
Hmm.
different person, right? And
Yeah.
so she mentions that to Victor as well.
God, they must have a weird history.
Yeah. So we're digging it. It's we got more than half the season left still. We got 5 episodes. It ends on November 10th. So around that time, we'll be breaking it down here.
Hasn't
The
been a bad
finale.
episode yet. There has not been a bad episode yet. I I think the first episode's still the strongest, but I don't think there's been a bad episode yet, man.
I agree with that. I'm very pleasantly surprised by it. I was a huge The Batman fan, but I talked about it in the build up to this where I wasn't really watching trailers. I kind of thought what the vibe of the show was going to be. And I was like, all right, I'll just see if I like it when I watch it. I haven't actually seen The Sopranos, so I'm not too familiar with a lot of
I've-
mob stuff.
Oh,
I haven't watched The Godfather either, so I don't really know any big mob stuff. So, uh, my big exposure to mob stuff is probably Batman the Animated Series or Breaking Bad or something.
oh
Totally
my
different
God.
styles, but yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying the show and
You
can't wait
slap
to
you
see how
upside
it
the head
goes.
like Tony Soprano going, what the hell's the matter with you?
I do know the ending of The Sopranos. I saw
Everybody
that
knows
scene.
the ending of The Sopranos. I actually have a confession with The Sopranos. My dad got it all on DVD, and I was catching up to it, and I got to the final season, and I kind of already known the ending, and I just stopped because once you get to a point where you don't like Tony Soprano even a little bit, the show's over.
Interesting. Okay, anything else about the Penguin? We do have the 4th episode title. It's called Centani? Centeni? CENT apostrophe ANNI.
It's a Tony. Come on, man.
There you go. That sounded a little Jamaican there.
I know a
John
really bad Italian.
John McCutcheon will be the writer on that one, and it premieres October 13th. So that's the Sunday coming up. Yeah, that's all I got for you.
Nice.
All right. Well, we'll be, you can send us any sort of feedback, your theories on the Penguin, what's going to happen with Victor, Sofia, and the rest of the crew in the Penguin. And
You
you can
know,
even send us theories on how this will tie in eventually with the Batman, and that will be sent to elseworldsdcfan@gmail.com or elseworldsdcfan on any of our social medias, or comment on the YouTube or in the Spotify. Go ahead, Chris. What were you going to say?
I'm so authentically with the Italian, New York, New Jersey stuff. I go into the bodega and I get a ham on a roll and an orange drink.
See, I don't even know if that's Italian.
It's
I
a
have
joke
Italian
from
heritage.
TikTok.
Oh, okay. I have an Italian heritage, but
Yeah, it's a bad joke that's kind of out of like the fad of people talking about it.
all right. So it's a very typical 30-plus-year-old man
Yeah,
telling the
very
joke
much.
well past its expiration date. Okay.
Look, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going
Got
to
to
be
get that.
talking to the youth, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm going to be that guy who says those cringy things all day long.
All right. So we're going to be wrapping up here. If you watch Superman and Lois, the season 4 premiere, first 2 episodes, we'll be talking about that in the next video and the next podcast episode. So make sure you check that out. Thank you all for watching and listening. We will catch you next time.